What's worse, retiring or slowly starting to feel like you're in the way inside your own home? Because when Michael retired, he thought he'd finally get more time with his wife. But pretty quickly he discovered something uncomfortable. The woman who had always admired how he solved problems was now getting tired of watching him reorganize everything. Michael had been a manager for 28 years, and honestly, he barely remembered how to live without schedules, without meetings, without people walking into his office saying, "Got a minute?" He retired on a Friday. There were speeches, pictures, applause that lasted a little too long, and a lot of people telling him, "Now the good life begins. You've earned some rest." Michael smiled, nodded, thanked everyone. But the following Monday, he woke up at 5:47 in the morning, no alarm, and less than an hour later, he was already reorganizing the garage. His wife found him sorting screws by size. Finally got time to do this. Been meaning to organize everything for years. She didn't answer, just watched him quietly for a few seconds, like someone staring at the clouds trying to decide whether rain is coming or if the sun's gonna break through later instead. For weeks, Michael tried to act like a normal retiree. He tried golf, lasted 2 lessons. According to him, walking behind a tiny ball for 4 hours didn't qualify as a sport. Then he joined a book club. But halfway through the second book, he asked, "Why does it take this guy 3 pages to describe a front hallway?" Nobody really knew what to say. Then came the vacation with his wife, and that's when the real problems started. Because Michael did something you should probably never do on a romantic getaway. He made an itinerary with schedules. 8 o'clock breakfast, 8:40 departure, 9:15 local craft market, 10 o'clock coffee by the ocean. By the third day, they were arguing. Not everything has to be efficient, Michael. And his brain answered before he could stop it. Why not? Little by little, Michael started realizing something. His wife had spent years organizing the house her own way, and after all that time, she'd earned the right to do it. But Michael still kept trying to find a place where he could feel useful. He had spreadsheets comparing grocery stores, brands, discounts, quality ratings, and his wife looked at him with that quiet patience some people use when they still love you, but are already wondering what kind of summer program they can send you to. Because the house already had a system, and that system had been running for years without executive meetings. Michael was still exactly the same man, same energy, same need to solve problems. Only now, he didn't have an office to put all that energy into anymore. One morning, he decided to stop by the company just to say hi. He didn't call ahead, just showed up. He wanted to hear phones ringing, see people walking fast, feel for a couple minutes like he still belonged there. "I'm heading to the 10th floor. Finance." "Of course, sir." "Your badge?" Michael instinctively reached into his pocket. Empty. The security guard waited. Michael gave a small smile. "I was a manager here for almost 30 years. The guard looked back at the screen. "Then I'm sure you understand, sir. Can't let you in without a badge." And for some reason, the words "I was" hit him harder than he expected. A few months ago, everybody knew him. Now they were asking for ID. He got home earlier than usual that day, opened a professional social network, created a profile calling himself a senior strategic consultant, uploaded a photo that looked way too serious, wrote something about leadership, then waited. He got 2 connection requests. One was from his nephew. The other looked like a woman named Sophia, trying to teach him cryptocurrency. He slowly closed the laptop. His wife watched him from the kitchen for several seconds, like someone watching a large dog trapped inside a small apartment. Too much energy for too little space. A few weeks later, Michael went to the grocery store. and he heard a baby crying, not normal crying, crying like the kid still thought he was alone inside the womb, and nobody else could hear him. The entire store looked exhausted. Cashiers, customers, security guards. A young woman was trying to carry bags, push a cart, and calm the baby all at once. The baby kept screaming, face completely red. Michael watched for a few seconds, then walked over. "You're holding him too low." The woman looked confused. "Excuse me?" "The baby. He's swallowing air." She looked way too tired to argue. Michael adjusted the baby carefully, gave him a few gentle pats on the back, and less than a minute later, the baby stopped crying. The woman's eyes widened. "How did you do that?" Michael shrugged. "3 kids, a lot of trial and error." She let out a small laugh. "This is my first baby." Then a few seconds later, she added, "And probably my last. I realized I'm not cut out for this." Michael smiled softly, but while he walked through the parking lot, he couldn't stop thinking about something. When he and his wife were young, there was always somebody helping. Grandparents, aunts and uncles, family. Now it felt like people were trying to solve online, the kinds of things families used to solve together. That night, he sat down at the dining room table and wrote spaces, schedules, people, costs. 3 days later, he went to the community center, explained his idea. Young parents, single dads, single moms, older adults with experience, real advice, practical things, how to help a baby sleep, how to cook something nutritious fast, how to organize expenses, what to buy at the grocery store to survive difficult weeks, how to install child safety equipment around the house. The coordinator listened carefully, then answered, "Very interesting. Maybe in a couple years, we could secure funding for something like that." Michael looked at her, surprised. 2 years? Programs like this take time. Michael stayed quiet for a few seconds, then asked, "What if we start with something small first?" And the coordinator realized way too late. Michael had already solved the problem in his head. The first recruit was his 17-year-old grandson. These damn social media apps better be useful for something, Michael thought. 15 minutes later, they already had accounts everywhere. The post said, "We don't have degrees, but we've spent decades solving problems." And slowly, people started showing up. Messages from young parents asking for information, exhausted mothers, and retired people who wanted to help. "I raised 5 kids without a microwave. I had 4 and never once bought frozen dinners." A retired accountant showed up organizing names and schedules into perfectly labeled folders. A retired mechanic immediately started directing traffic around the room to keep things from turning into chaos. And a retired nurse carried a purse so big she could probably handle a medical emergency, make soup, and sew a button back on without ever setting the bag down. At first, only a few people came, then more. And slowly, something Michael had missed terribly started coming back. The feeling of people trying to solve problems together. Tomorrow, there's a single dad who needs help changing diapers because the baby keeps leaking through them. Who can go? Who knows how to install child safety gates? Do we still have cribs available? And suddenly, Michael had schedules again. Phone calls, problems, people waiting for answers. One afternoon, he arrived early at the community center. He heard noise before he even walked in. Babies crying, someone laughing. 2 retirees arguing about how to install a safety gate. A mother asking how long prepared formula could stay outside the refrigerator. And then someone yelled from the back, "Michael, we've got a problem with Thursday's schedule." And honestly, it was the first time since retiring that he smiled before walking into a building. Because he had finally found something. Not another job, something stranger than that. The place where the Michael from 30 years ago still got to be Michael. Some people imagine retirement as rest. And that's okay. Travel, vacations, sleeping in. But there are also people who don't want to stop feeling useful. They don't want to stop solving problems. On Friday, you were still needed somewhere. And by Monday, you don't really know where you belong anymore. Because Michael was still the same man, the same energy, the same way of thinking, the same urge to solve problems. It's just that the world didn't seem to have a place for him anymore. And honestly, I think a lot of people understand that feeling perfectly. Do you know someone like that? Or maybe it's you. Are you someone enjoying retirement? Or someone who still wants to keep working? I'll read you in the comments. See you soon.